This is the Stabby Road Podcast.
Hey there, everybody, and welcome back to the Stabby Road Podcast, a podcast where four different generations of horror fans talk horror and more. We have a very, very special episode today. We've got kind of a girls' day going on. So, may I please introduce our guests? We have actor and director Diana Porter.
Hi,
Say
good to be here.
thank you for being here. And then we have producer, director, half of Mass Grave, Lindsay Serrano.
Nice to be back.
Yeah, thank you for coming back. And legendary actress, and I cannot believe we didn't scare her away the first time. Thank you for coming back, Jill Schoelen.
Hi, so happy to be here with all of you.
So happy to have you again. Oh, I'm really excited to do this. The boys did their own little kind of episode, and I think this is a great idea. I'm really excited to talk about Popcorn in particular, is the movie we all watched, but then also maybe get into women in horror, the past, the present, where it's headed. So, who would like to start off on their popcorn thoughts? If anybody hasn't seen it, obviously spoiler alerts, big spoiler alerts, but you've had plenty of time to see it. Like, pause, go watch it, come back.
I like that.
Because the twist is a good one. It would be a real bummer to have it ruined.
Yes, I will say it was my first time watching it, and I absolutely loved it. It is so much fun. And as a child of the 80s, it was this who's who of, oh my God, I remember them from Murder, She Wrote. Oh my God, there's Kelly Jo Minter from Summer School. It was like all the memories flooding back. And yeah, and it was really well made, and it made me want to do a horror screening.
Right?
Maybe with as good effects, but to better effects.
Yeah, we have better technology.
Yeah, maybe less actual murder. Maybe.
Yes,
depending on who's there.
Yeah, just a touch. Sorry, I forgot. I'll do a quick sum up for anybody who hasn't seen it. In nutshell, it's a film department putting on an all-night horror show with lots of interactive, like electrocuting chairs and smelly fog, and things go wrong. Ballpark, nutshell, now you're caught up. Okay.
It was also my first time as well watching.
Oh, yay!
But Manny was super excited because he was like, this is the reason I have been waiting to buy the movie. So he actually got the synopsis.
Oh,
the home steelbook.
I was gonna say it's a steelbook?
It's a steelbook.
Where did he get that?
I don't know. He got it from Synapse Films.
yeah.
I need this in my life.
Yeah, so it's a 2-disc. It has the DVD and the Blu-ray. And there's some really cool like documentaries, a couple different interviews, the trailers, the still galleries, which are really fun. And there's some cover copy from our friend Michael Gingold. So
Gingold! Awesome.
So I'm super excited to watch it. I had a blast. It's so charming. I think that's really like what draws you in. From like the minute that song hits, I was like just jamming in my seat. I was like, I'm here for this from minute one. And the effects, astounding.
Yeah.
Astounding.
100% agree. Some unbelievably realistic, beautiful gore, body work. Yeah.
Like that one scene, the reveal scene. I mean, we're doing spoilers. So the reveal scene that he's putting on, I mean, seamless. And then when it does the ear flap when he has the face.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So cool.
It felt so much more detailed than they usually go with that sort of thing. Like we see like similar effects in other one, but they never, because it feels slightly comedic, which worked perfectly here.
Yep.
But to have it like, oh, it's gonna peel off at any second. It's so beautiful.
And also, like, I felt like it made it sympathetic. Like, I like seriously had flashbacks to Dumbo, like with the big ears. I was just like, I feel for this poor man. Like he had a horrible childhood, and like it just made him more sympathetic to me too.
Yeah, he's definitely a very complicated character.
Yes.
His backstory felt a little like Freddy Krueger meets Michael Myers. Like it hit on all of the classic backstories and rolled them into one.
Mm.
It kind
And
of did it. I never thought of that, but it did.
yeah, it really smart writing.
Yes, incredibly smart. This is my second time watching it, and I think this is going to be one of those that only gets more fun on every rewatch. Like, especially all the different costumes of everybody watching the movie and all the little Easter eggs and references kind of hidden throughout. That was like I'm excited to just watch it again already. It hits so many books. It hits, I don't know, hits nostalgia in so many different ways. Um, the references obviously to, like, I took note this time, I didn't notice it last time, the first movie they watch at the showing is by Condor Films, and I was like, is that a Roger Corman kind of nod? Maybe, I don't know, little things like that. I'm just excited to like rewatch again and again.
It's funny, Matinee has been my comfort movie. Like I love like 50s, 60s, like giant insects, giant creature, like nuclear, whatever creature movies. And so like Matinee has been like one of those watches. And now I'm like, to do that with this as a double feature, I'm like,
Oh yeah.
okay, yeah. I'd just be really in for some horror gold, horror history gold.
I'm like looking, that's what I'm doing right now with the, I was looking, that's what I'm looking down. I'm not texting. I'm looking down, but I just wanted to have all my facts. It was really more of a tribute, in a direct tribute, I think, to Nick Castle and all the Nick Castle, those movies within the movie. And they were for me, being in the film, the first time I saw it, I walked away going, forget about you, Jill. Those movies within the movie, those were so good. I mean, they really were. And the acting in them was so the Electrified Man, Bruce Glover, Christmas Dad, he just recently passed, just I think only a few months ago. And
Oh my gosh.
he played the Electrified Man. He was so good, I thought.
Yeah.
The whole mosquito movie, it was such a throwback. It was just such great filmmaking, and I think you guys hit it so perfectly on, with how much fun it was. It's a fun film, even and had that comedic thing, but the comedic side was really born out of that it was fun. I mean, sometimes the most ridiculous things I think in life we have to laugh at them. They almost become self-deprecating, these things that happen to our lives, because you can't make it up. Cannot make it up. Like the like where it goes. If it were in a movie, no one would believe it. And I think this movie does a little bit of that.
And I have always loved the combination of comedy and horror. And from an audience perspective, I love horror comedies. But then also in the films that I make, I tend to find that if I put a moment of comedy, something really relatable, and then I hit them with the scary part, it gives that roller coaster ride that really sucks the audience in and
disarms you a little bit.
Yes. And I think also as an actor, I feel like it's, for me, like having that relatable comedy grounds me in the scene and makes me better to explore the scary part, like more ready, more able to do it. So
yeah, absolutely.
Like that.
So for you, Jill, when you were shooting it, what was it, did any of it feel really scary? Because sometimes shooting horror can be the least scary thing in the world, and then other times it's terrifying.
Well,
how was it with this one?
I like the question, especially for this movie, because I was very frustrated with one element of it. I mean, that's the first thing that comes to my mind, based upon your question. But when she's sitting in that chair and she's got that helmet thing over, it's supposed to be that she can't move. It should almost be like a vice, right?
Yeah.
Had they made it that way, it would have helped the reality, as in terms of the actor, what the actor is going through. but it was very frustrating that I could easily navigate. I could just go this. You know?
Oh,
That made it hard because then you feel like you're lying. You never want to feel like you're lying as an actor, right?
yeah.
And
Yeah.
and that's the crew's job, is to help facilitate all of that with the costuming, the hair and
Yeah.
makeup, the set. It puts you in, come on, kids, let's go make believe. Let's go do it, and
Mm.
make believe to the point where you believe it, right? You're
Y-
making up the belief, but the
Yeah.
belief is very, very strong. And so I do like the reality of being scared
Mm.
when I'm making. I like that. It doesn't always work out that way, but I wish in that one element was there. It didn't feel like some other movies that I've done where you really feel more the horror of it.
Hmm.
I don't know why in this movie I didn't quite as much, but yeah.
That's interesting because I mean that's why we all like to watch her, right? We like to be scared. So especially as an actor, you're like, why not give me that opportunity to really lean into that? I'm sure they were concerned that, oh gosh, what if it's too much? And
Probably.
you get freaked out, but still, like that's their job to then, like if you say, okay, too much, they can come in and fix it. But I remember you saying, and the last time we had you, that you didn't feel like, because you were still so young, and it's not anything like it is now for women in movies. Like you didn't really feel like you were afraid to kind of share your voice, like afraid to speak up for yourself.
I did.
You did.
No, I did what you're saying. I did not feel
Yeah. Aw.
that was a just, I mean, being with the lovely filmmakers here who I'm in awe of, that women are doing this, because I had all those thoughts back when I was in my 20s in the 80s, and there was no avenue. I certainly didn't pioneer it, but I had the thoughts. The thoughts
Yeah.
were there, the heart was there, the mind was there, the creativity was there, the action was not. And for you guys, it is. And I'm just so grateful to see that happening. But yes, I did not feel comfortable. I think a lot of women didn't
Yeah.
feel comfortable back then to speak up, much more like you took your place, right?
Right. Not say like, no, put me in the box for real. Like, let's do it.
Let's go there.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I had a bit of claustrophobia, or more than a bit, so I would always make sure, like, in that dress thing, that
Mm.
that they could get me out quickly. And maybe that would have been the same head thing. So maybe I would be having a whole different conversation, like, oh, it was so claustrophobic, I couldn't stand it.
You need to find the happy medium between
Hmm.
making it real and making it safe,
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that it,
yes.
yeah, it's making actors comfortable so that they can do their best work,
Yeah.
giving them what
Hmm.
they need so that they can be as vulnerable as they need to be is just so
Yeah.
important. And I think it's something that too often gets overlooked. People dismiss acting as playing pretend or it's easy, and they skip over the part where we're dredging up these deep dark things. So
Mm. Not
Yeah.
only that, but it sometimes removes almost your own autonomy as an actor to be almost babied in that way, to be like, no, I know my limits. I can
yeah.
handle this, and it would really help inform the character for me. Can we please do it? Like
Yes.
even Michael Keaton, when he played Batman, said his claustrophobia is a huge part of what forced him to withdraw and become. That's how his Batman came around. So almost infantilizing actors sometimes, it
Mm,
seems like, especially women,
yeah.
unfortunately.
See, it's funny. I actually made the first thing I co-directed was a black and white homage to all these like black and white creature features, and it was called The Attack of the Brain People. And the premise was that brains were just escaping. Well, there was an alien brain that was pulling brains out of the townspeople, and they were literally being attacked by their own brains.
Ooh, fun.
And it was so much fun to shoot just because like we really went back to those like old school Hollywood effects. So we actually had fishing line that we attached to some of the brains, and then we would pull them forward. But then when we put it into the movie, we put them in reverse. So it actually
Nice.
they were moving on their own.
Wow.
And you're like having this conversation is because how do you have brains attack people? So we actually got like one of our friends worked at a green screen studio. So we actually went in and we had made, I mean, 50, maybe 50 different brains. And we were like, how comfortable are you guys really being hit by brains? And we just like literally throwing brains like footballs at people. And they were all for it, but it was like it was really hard as like a director, and even especially my producer mindset is always like safety, safety. But they really appreciated it. And then we did this the final scene was very much Plan 9 from Outer Space. Where
Nice.
fights the squid. So we had a mother brain that was made of like insulation that we had painted like bright pink, and then we had like latex tentacles attached to it, and we had the actor like wrestling with it, and it was just not coming off like almost like you guys were saying, it was too pretendy. So we actually had extra tentacles, and so we actually kind of off camera put them like kind of stuck them into the frame, and like at one point it went towards his mouth, and you could see the moment that he actually got like, oh, this is like something that's actually coming for me, you know. So it was really magic to see that happen like on camera. But it's hard as a filmmaker to put somebody in that situation, and to have the confidence that you're going to be able to pick up on like the first sign that something isn't right there.
Yeah, it's a lot of trust.
Yes. Can I just say that I want to see that film, and I also want to see that film as a commentary on mental illness and imposter syndrome and how our brains attack ourselves.
Oh, that is good.
Everything. So
go there. It's really light, so it's like definitely a creature feature, but now I really want to go into
I like that a lot. Yeah, that's really good.
Lindsay, I can't remember the last time we had a conversation that didn't end up with a movie idea.
I know.
Isn't that always the way it goes? With artistic types, we can't help ourselves.
But it's so magic for me. I mean, especially like I'm gonna get really cheesy for a minute, but like you know, I've been making movies since 2006. And I was for so long the token girl in the room. And I've been around to see more and more women getting on stage. And I have like Angie Hansen, who was one of our actresses in A Rough Start. And I've seen her come around as a director and really just excel at that. And Diana, she's been our actress before, and she is an amazing director in her own light. And it's to have more women around it just means the world to me, honestly.
It's so important, and I'm so grateful to Andrea Willanen and Izzy Lee and the directors who supported me and pushed me to direct, and now being able to pay that back and support the up and coming female directors like Ashes and like all the names are leaving my head, but and bringing all the women together is something that I'm starting to do more and more of, because we are like it back in the day, walking on set and being the only woman and I'm the talent was not abnormal, or it's me and the makeup artist.
Yeah.
And more I'm going on set and there's Mel and she's the gaffer, and there's Natasha and she's the production designer, and I could crew an entire film of just women, and that's fantastic. And making those connections between the different women, it changes the game.
Yeah.
And it also means that there's no more excuse for a male filmmaker to get up at a Q&A and say, yeah, I tried to have as many women as possible on this movie and crew, and only be able to name 2 women that they had on crew.
Yeah.
Not naming names, but
Yeah.
There are so many women out there that are so very good at their jobs. And the more we work with each other, the more we work.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't need to wait
elder-
around for the opportunities to come to us. We can make them now.
Yeah.
Which is such an incredible gift. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Jill.
No. We both have excited to end the conversation. The elder in the virtual room would just like this. It's fantastic listening to this and hearing it. Lindsay, when you were saying what you were saying, I thought you were going to burst into tears. Feel your emotion so much about it. And it's so brilliant because what you guys are saying, I mean, I was experiencing this back 40 years ago, right? 40 years,
Yeah.
almost every script being virtually the only female lead. So many of them, the only female lead. The second female lead was even more incidental. Even the lines, the writing was all like half of my lines were questions.
Yeah.
So leading actor could, because bad writing, that's how they furthered the storyline instead of actually telling the story.
We're just props for exposition.
Right. Feeding information for the male leading actor. And I saw this stuff so early on, so early on. Nobody was talking about it. I mean, of course they were. People in higher positions were talking about it. But in my arena, it was very scant.
Yeah.
I was very lucky to work with a female DP, I think on my second film, a movie called Thunder Alley. Her name was Karen Grossman. Do you guys know Karen Grossman, the cinematographer?
Yes.
I mean, this was 1980 early. So
it's amazing. I mean, amazing at that time. Really.
Yeah, at that time it was unheard of, and I did think it was strange, but I didn't know how strange until I never worked with a female cinematographer again till short film in the 90s or something, 10 years later. But she was the director, cinematographer.
I mean, even it's mind-blowing with Sinners, which is in theaters now. This is the first time a woman has been the cinematographer on an IMAX movie.
Wow. Really? That's wow.
It's still relatively new technology. Not that there's an excuse, but
yeah,
it
wow.
Oh, in the
it tracks.
Come on.
Yeah. No, I know you're right. It seems one of those things where it's like we have come so far, but wow, we still have such a long way to go. Yeah.
I actually have a question for you, and I'm going to give a little backstory, so please bear with me. Back in 2003, I went to the first ever Monster Mania convention, and Betsy Palmer was a guest there. And they did a really special, hour-long, maybe it was even 2 hours of just talking with Betsy. And she told the story of Friday the 13th, where when she was brought onto the project, she mostly took it because she needed a new car and they were going to pay her the exact money that that she needed for this car. But she got on set and, she had gone through the script and she had kind of started to prepare. And then she said to the director, I'd like to talk about my motivation a little bit. And he was like, they let your son die. What more do you need? And she went back, and worked on the script by herself. And she came up with this amazing backstory of, she was a young girl. She had a boyfriend that she was going steady with for a very long time. And he gave her his pin. And she eventually gave in to him and they made love. And she wound up pregnant and he abandoned her. And her entire family told her that she was a sinner. And when Jason was born deformed, her family said it was because of her sin and they threw her out of the house. And Jason became her entire world. So when he died, she just lost all touch with reality. And I'm still getting goosebumps remembering her talking about this because that was the story she gave herself. And that is what created that amazing performance that we all love and worship. Mama Voorhees, What it sounds like you didn't get much direction either. So I would love to know what you did on your own to prepare for the role and what you brought to her.
This question is for me? Okay, I was listening so intently. Are you talking about my role in Popcorn, Maggie, right?
Yes.
Okay, well, you must know. I don't think you know, so you must know this. I'm going to tell you.
I know you got thrown in an afterward. Is that where you were going?
Yeah, okay, so you do know. But it was literally
explain to everybody else here because everybody should know
okay.
about the movie.
So I was on another movie called Rich Girl, and it was going to go over a few days, and they needed to get more money in place. So they said, "Give us a few days," and but I, my contract on it basically had worn out, so basically I was free. And I was at my agent's. And I got two offers, one for this Broadway play and the other one for Popcorn. But it was to get on a plane that day. That's how much notice I had. That's the point.
Wow.
I agreed to do the movie, not the Broadway show. And I jumped on a plane and got to Jamaica, got there at I think 12 midnight or something, 11, 12 at night. Went in my room, in my hotel room, had fittings till 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, was on set at 6. That first scene, and I don't remember, it's a dolly shot. I can't remember, but I seem to remember the camera moving. But there I'm lying in bed. That was my first shot, and I out cold for real.
Oh.
No acting there. And all of a sudden I feel my toe being pulled.
Oh my God.
So crap. And the character, there was no time. There was no time to delve into the script in terms of, I personally enjoyed reading the script over and over again. I'm a bit like Anthony Hopkins in that way, where I believe the character is already in there and but you have to know it. It's like, here's the acting teacher in me, when you have to know your lines inside and out. When you say, if you count it to 10, you can't even say it as fast as you think it, right? When do the first, you can't even say it that fast because you know it so well, so backwards and forwards. And I think when you know a script, so backwards and forwards, everything about the characters, it just kind of organically comes up. And then I think also when you know your lines backwards and forwards, you have that beautiful spontaneity. That's what I get off on. I take me.
It's very theater versus film a little bit more, where sometimes for film you show up and they just want you to know a couple, whereas theater you have to know your entire dialogue before opening night.
I don't necessarily like knowing anybody else's lines, but I like knowing my lines so I don't have to think about them. And so I can just be in the room with someone and have a spontaneous, my example that I always give, like right now, we have no idea what anyone's going to say in 10 seconds from now, 20 seconds. So if I made up what I was going to say, I would be pretty robotic. If I already knew it, knew how I was going to say it, I never, ever know how I'm going to say a line, ever. I just memorize the words and then let's see what happens when we're together. But you do, Lindsay, to your question, I think in the script, for me, to know what is going on, to like, in terms of what the writer had, going on. And then what was going on in their head, obviously, with the background and it's really her aunt and, her mother. Anyway, knowing all the information is going to feed that muscle, that talent. I'm going to my belly, my solar plexus down here, where it's in your gut, where it's just like in your gut. And when you read the script over and over again, if it's decent to good, great writing, the better the writing is, the more it's just going to be there. The people, they've written them so well. I don't know about you guys, but when I write, I have a whole pre-thing already done. I write the whole backgrounds of all the characters and all the backstory of what happened. So by the time you get to the beginning, you're just taking a picture, like a camera. You just like a picture in that moment, except the picture then becomes a moving picture.
Yeah.
Nice.
For me as an actor and as a writer, I know I have it when the answers just start coming from the character. And with acting specifically, it's when the character starts picking out their clothes. I'll be like, especially for acting class, this happens to me all the time. I'll get the script and be like, oh, okay, yeah, I know this character. I know what I'm gonna wear. And then as I start prepping, suddenly I'm laying in bed going, oh, no, I have to wear the blue bathing suit. The blue bathing suit's too small. Nope, it has to be the blue bathing suit because the character wants the blue bathing suit.
So interesting. I love that. Yeah.
It's like being just slightly possessed.
No, that's great. I love that. That's how you know you've got the characters when
Yeah.
those decisions are just
It's
coming
like you were
out.
saying, Jill, it comes from your gut. You're
Yeah.
not, it's not memorization. Characters don't have lines.
Mm.
It's
Right.
just becomes natural.
But they have to know the story of their lives,
Yes.
Mhm.
right? You have to know, like, you can't be randomly, because then it's like you're, maybe you have emotion, maybe you have feeling, but is it, it's like just like you were saying about the choice of the clothing, where is it being driven from? By you personally,
Right.
or by that character, what they're going through, what they're feeling based on their background. And I have this wonderful mentor, Jim Bua, and he always said it's on the page. The character is on the page. That's why you got to know. You have to understand what it is you're reading about. I just wrote a whole article about this very thing we're talking about. But yes, it's all about this part about being spontaneous. And I think it's fascinating and this is what I wrote about in the article, that actors, I know you guys are going, if you don't relate to this, and I don't know what to say.
I'm in so much anticipation and suspense. Tell me about
Like when an actor reads a script, I've seen it let me put it this way. I've never not seen it this way. They start to read the script and they start reading their part out loud. They read their part out loud. You want to begin the axing, the beginning of degrading how well you will play that role starts right there.
I like that.
You read a book, you never read a character out loud. You're interested in the story.
Oh, wow.
Right? When you read,
Yeah.
so when we read scripts as actors, you have to read them as a story. And when you know the story, I'm having the chills so bad right now, in a good way. When you read the story, then you're able to serve the character, because the character is a piece of the story, right? It's not, the main thing is not the character. It's very close, but the main thing is the story, the great story. And then you put some great characters in there and you've got yourself a real winner. But when people read books, they don't read one part out loud. They read the story and they're, oh my God, I love this story. And I think as actors that's what we want to do. We always want to read that story so we get the story first. And then the reading out loud of the can happen after. But to keep ourselves in that highest state, to be able to receive information. What were the words you used, Diana? Did you say crazy?
Possessed.
Slightly possessed. Slightly.
That's crazy. They're but it's like that, because it's like the character gets into you, or more. I like to think of it like it takes us over. Like, I got to get out of the way. right? Make room.
I think of it as it's a piece of myself. Like there's a million different selves inside of me, and that's the one that's bubbling up.
Oh, I
Mm.
like that.
Mm.
That's nice. Yeah.
Just a different version of you.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
the acting class that I'm in, he gives us a wide range of different characters. You know, I've done Weird Barbie and I've played a grandma, and I've always found every single script I read, and I'm like, oh, this is me. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's a weird Barbie. I'm still like, oh, this is me. And then the next week he could give me a stereotypical Barbie and I'd be like, oh, this is me. Because there's always everything is relatable.
Yes.
When the heart of a story is always relatable. So
Yeah.
I don't want
to. I started off as a producer, so I got used to reading the script multiple times because that's how you break down a script as a producer. You'll read the script once, kind of get the idea of the story, then you'll go back and you'll read it as the costume department, then you'll read it as, and then you'll read it as props, and you read it from a different perspective each time so that you can properly break down the script and know the significance of each one of the items that you're putting on your lists that you need to get, you know?
Yeah.
And I feel like as a director, I still have that same process. But when I'm directing, I'm looking for the highs and lows, you know, the milestones of the story that I'm telling, because I always want to know on set where I am in the story.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting that actors are going through the same thing as me.
Yeah.
yeah.
And they're more individualized.
Yeah.
I love that you do that because it is so important that the director is guiding everything. And if the director doesn't know where you are, then no one knows where we are.
Yeah.
That's right.
So
it's also too, there's a whole lot of instinct, I think, that maybe as women especially doesn't come too early. It comes a little bit more with age, like trusting your instincts about a character and the initial gut reaction, Jill, like you said, having it in like deep down in your gut, trusting that instinct to inform your performance. Do you think, Jill, that you would agree in terms of like who you were as an actress then versus what it might be like if you were to step back on set now?
Well, I look at it on this a different finger of that same path that you're talking about. I can only speak for me, but I've spoken to others and have found that they have very common experiences. I'm in my 60s now, and I think when you get older, there is a freedom with, you know, your ego isn't at stake, right? You're not the anything of the most in the room anymore.
A little less pressure, maybe.
It's much less pressure, but it you don't even know when you're young that it's a pressure, you know. And I think too, when we're young, it's so natural. And I don't mean this in a negative way. It's just a word, but we're so much more invested in our ego.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Being right, I don't know, but our ego, it's about us. And that's another freedom that I found is quite refreshing the older you get, is that you realize that it's not about you. That was part of my article that I wrote too, and about it's not about us at all. We're just serving one thing. We're serving, everybody on set is serving the story, you know. And I think as we get older as actors, and I'm sure you've heard this from many, many great successful actresses, something similar is that you can just let go of, you know, all that stuff you carry when you're a little bit younger, and you get to go to the center of everything that you are feeling. You get to be much more naked, I think. Or I'm saying it wrong.
No, you're saying it right. I totally feel what you're saying because I don't even think
Comfortable in being naked. Yes.
ego. I think it's like we have such training as women to be the good girl, the smart girl, the pretty girl. You know, it's baggage. It's not even
Mm-hmm.
ego, it's the baggage that we have on us when we're younger. Like some of the wisest women in my life, when I turned 40 almost 2 years ago, and I was freaking out over 40, and a very wise wisdom women in my life were like, you're not going getting older, you're just giving less of a fuck.
Yes. Oh my God. Yes.
And
I say that all the time. Like my 30s, I'm almost 40 myself, and the fucks are so few and far between left. Whereas in my early 20s, most of my choices were probably driven by pleasing everyone else around me.
yeah, I was too timid to direct, and when I finally directed and the world embraced it, and they said to me what a unique voice I had with my first short, I finally like was able to let go of enough. My second short film was Lily about my period, and what if my period was a 6 foot punk rock monster who looked forward to that week every month and was like, she just wants to be with you. And you know, it was scary, and I talked to 1,000 women, and I wanted everybody's symptoms and what they went through, and that was like a religious experience on the film festival circuit, because it was finally talking about something that we never talk about. It's so,
Interesting.
you know, we still have the blue water on television. And to actually talk to women about their health and their bodies, and have the freedom to say, you know, lining and blood and chunks, you know, it was it really taught me the importance of art, and the voices that we all have inside of us that are still silenced.
Mm.
You know, so yes, naked. We need to get more naked.
Yeah.
And
Naked, and let everything hang out that's going to hang out, and talk about the things that we've been told for decades now, for generations of women, not to talk about.
Yeah.
I love Misunderstood Monster. Like that, I love that film so much. Lindsay knows I love that film so much. And I can't wait to see what you do about perimenopause in a few years, because I can start writing it for you now. It's a lot. But I am seeing a trend as there's more female filmmakers, as there's more women in the writer's chair and the director's chair. I'm seeing on the independent circuit a lot more films about miscarriage, childbirth, and motherhood, and identity in motherhood, especially. And it's it takes me back to probably 8 years ago. I was at a film festival talking to two male filmmakers about representation in front of the camera and women's stories not really making it in front of the camera. And this male filmmaker says, well, you know, men's stories just have always been where all the drama is. You know, war stories are just the most dramatic thing. What in women's lives is as dramatic as war? And I went, childbirth. And he had nothing to say to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it is so amazing. And my first film was about miscarriage.
Which, oh my
And
God.
it's in an unconceivable world where Roe v. Wade has been overturned and women are being prosecuted for having miscarriages. So unthinkable back in 2016. And
God.
now seeing more women telling their stories, those very personal stories that are also so universal.
Yeah.
It's so important, and it's so, like you were saying, it's freeing. We're feeling more comfortable just being women, and it's a huge relief. It feels like a weight has been lifted.
I feel like this
Agreed.
year, especially with the year of the substance, let's get
Oh,
I was
yes.
thinking the same thing. That you know, because you guys were birth, miscarriage. I mean, being a mother, all this stuff, and I'm thinking they've left out menopause.
Yeah.
I want a perimenopause film because that's where I am now.
No,
I can't write the menopause film yet. Give me a couple
I
years.
know, and that's what I was going to say. I was going to say in a few years, guys, it'll switch to menopause.
You write it, and we'll get this thing done.
Oh my God,
Write
Jill,
it.
that would be amazing.
Substance really, I found it was fascinating. It was Demi Moore that did the film, you know, because she has been so vocal with her personal struggles, and then to go and do a film, not that it was her, but we'll say how you said, Diana, but with the pieces of somebody, right?
Mm-hmm.
The pieces of you inside of a character. And I just found that film fascinating because as you get older, you know, this is the monster we chase.
Mhm.
It's the monster, especially in having been in front of the camera. Like even I made a film a year ago, a year and a half ago, whatever, and it was my first one in 29 years. That was one thing, but even going out and meeting the fans, and I'm not afraid to say it. I'm okay to be vulnerable about it. I'm okay with that. To say that it's hard. I get like, what are people gonna think? I'm not that person. I'm
Mhm.
this one. I'm this one. I have vitiligo. I have
You're human.
illness. I have an illness that's made my face all puffy from all the steroids, and I don't look at all like how I maybe like to see myself or whatever. And then the wrinkles and all the stuff that comes along. And I put see right there, I put the little spray in to cover the gray, and I'm just letting it all out right to you guys.
Do it.
We
Like this
we
is
all do it. Absolutely. I do like bronzer to like my hairline look farther, the cheek. We, especially as women, the
and
pressure
it's
to
Can we
like
talk about
look.
the padding in the bras? That's what's getting to me.
Oh,
I'm going on 42, and the girls do not stand where they used to. And it's like I see myself in pictures, and they're like down here, where they're like here, and it's like really just. And so now I find I'm buying push-up bras and I'm pulling straps up, and it's like almost back when I was a girl and I didn't have them, and I put on multiple bras to pad them out. I'm putting
hmm.
multiple bras on to pad them up, and it's why am I doing this? I feel like
I
I'm in that Iron Maiden that you were in Popcorn.
yeah, no, am totally get it, full understanding. That
you're
one,
you're
I'm always like going like this, you know.
you're you're all gorgeous, first of all. Second of all, it's shifting the focus from how we look to who we are is so important and so freeing and so hard to do.
So hard. So
And
hard.
especially as an actor, you get stuck. Like I keep joking, if I grow out my hair, then I'm going to start getting grandma roles
Mm.
because the industry is brutal about putting you in a box because that's the most efficient way to make
Yes.
money
Yep.
is to be like, this is what you look like. This is how we can
Mhm.
market you.
Yep.
And even though like I like me better than me from 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Me from 10 years ago was more fuckable and therefore more marketable.
But she was
It's,
also a little more insecure, maybe a little more unsure, maybe cared
she
too
did not
much.
have the
Yeah.
life experience that I have. She
Mhm.
didn't live through a pandemic. She hasn't, done all the things that I've done. And I can see that experience in my face and I love it.
Mm.
I
Yeah,
love the wisdom that my face shows.
Yeah.
When 10 years ago, people would think I was still in my 20s. And I started getting offended because I was like, do I look stupid? I was kind of stupid in my 20s. Do I
Oh,
really look stupid?
that's a great way of taking that. Oh my
funny.
God.
That is so funny.
Because it's true, when you're in your early 20s, you don't know shit, but you can't be
Oh,
told you don't know shit
yeah.
yet.
Oh, I
Yeah.
was so naive.
Oh
No
my God, that's
idea.
so funny.
And now it's like, no, I know shit. And I want to look like I know shit.
I love that.
Well, it is true. It's like I always say about my wrinkles. I'm like, okay, this one, this is this badge. This is from
Yes.
the ex-husband. This over here. These are all my joyful. Let me give you
Yes,
joyful events of my life.
that's
Mhm.
joy. Yes.
And
It's
down along the line, they're badges of honor.
Yeah.
And it's complicated. Life
mm,
is so complicated. It's so, they like to put us in boxes, right? The people,
mhm.
Hmm.
have the money to finance a film or whatever. Oh, I'm so sorry. Let me just um but I find that we do that too as human beings, right?
Yes.
Always and I think it's a comfort zone to put things, say this person is that and this is about this and that's about that. And we as human beings we feel more comfortable when we label and say things. And
like having the illusion of control helps
it's
us.
an illusion. And
yeah.
if we're on a spiritual path, I'd like to think and hope that most people in their own way, whatever that means, whatever that spiritual word means to somebody, but that they think that something is going on that's bigger than just themselves, and that we, start thinking about that and then trying to, okay, I'm going to let that side of the box down. Okay, this side, it's just not going to come down. I guess I'm just going to have to get out some scissors, or God, that's not even going to work. Let me get a hammer to this side. However, we need to knock him down, but that's all part of this. Is the beauty of aging, and I think as women we have something so beautifully unique to us, in that in how we are able to. Can I be blunt?
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
We have a hole down. But it's what makes us vulnerable. We open up. This is what we do. And that's, I think we never lose that. We just have that innate thing as women to open, and we can we're so open. We are the first ones open generally. These are general statements to humanity, to people going through problems, compassion. We're always opening in all kinds of different ways, and we never stop blossoming, I think, as women, even
absolutely.
in our aging. It's beautiful.
It is.
It can be beautiful when we embrace and instead of chase this elusive butterfly. It's really a butterfly that can really become a monster, which is why loved. So many people said in Substance they didn't like that it got monstery. I heard some people say that. I'm like, how could it not be a monster?
She became a monster. Yeah.
But that's the monster that women have inside. I think it's a fascinating, I don't mean to go off about this. I'm so sorry.
No, please.
No.
It's an incredible
right now. Yeah, no, literally.
I think it's so fascinating that we say, and if I'm being totally politically incorrect or incorrect in any way, just go like this on the screen, slap it out of me. I have no idea, but I think I just know my own thoughts that I'm thinking about. And I think it's fascinating that we say about women and our equality, and then we go and we pump and plump and stuff. What?
It's we want it so bad. We really want to not care and to be like, I don't need to look like that. Screw you. But like there's that part of us, like that monster inside us. Like you said, we can't help it. We're still chasing it. And I think as you age, like you said, if you don't fight it, if you learn how to embrace that part, it can become something beautiful, but it's really, really hard. It's so hard.
Society rewards us for fulfilling those beauty standards, and it punishes us when we don't. I joke, like, I have a much better day if I put on makeup and before I run errands. Everybody is so much nicer to me if I put on a little mascara, and it's so stupid.
Yep.
But it exists.
It's true. And especially in entertainment, like we have our own particular kind of monster that is constantly just telling us that, no, you're not, you're a failure if you haven't reached this particular point in your career. And that's because you don't look like this, or we can't market you. So I mean, obviously it's hard enough just being a woman, but when you're in front of the camera and so much of your career depends on the way you look, it's like a whole nother level you have to fight to not
Mhm.
let it win.
It's funny, I was getting ready for my second short film, day one, and you're thinking 1,000 different things, and I'm putting the student makeup on, and I'm so distracted, and my brain is so elsewhere. I can't do my eyeliner right. My eyeliner is just getting,
Oh,
nothing's matching up.
one of
And
those days.
but I need my war paint. I said to myself, I said to my husband, I have to have my war paint on and it has to be flawless because I'm the director. And if my war paint and I'm not like perfectly put together, what are we even doing here? And I washed all the makeup off and I directed with no makeup. And it was the hardest
Nice.
thing I had to do. But I felt like I finally found that mindset where it was like, why? It's my set. If I, why am I putting makeup on to go to my own goddamn set? Like,
Hmm.
Mhm.
Love you. Oh,
And we're also often our own harshest critics. Like I posted some pictures the other day from a film I did where it was super minimal makeup. Like they really wanted it to look natural. And I was like, I'm going to take a chance just because the photo itself was stunning. Like the photography, the lighting, everything about it. But I was like, man, do I look frumpy here? It got the most comments of anything I've posted in months.
Yeah.
very interesting.
Yep.
We're so harsh on ourselves because we have internalized all of that. Like we're rewarded when we feel pretty and we're punished when we don't. So we internalize it to a point where we're really not objective anymore
Mm-mm.
So
at
hard to
all.
be it. We're so, it's, the thoughts don't always follow that same line. They're in conflict with each other as we say, well, how do you be the best you can be, right? I think as human beings, we want to internally have our light on and be our best.
Mm.
Where does our best, where's that line? That line's always moving.
Yes,
It's
yes.
like, are we supposed to and and do all these, is that our best or is that not, is that where is that line? I find that line very interesting, which I think it's why people love Substance so much. Because it just so spoke to how far, like the insanity of how far we go. But then we say we always say as women, I'm not sure if we're always honest with ourselves as we
Mm.
try and
and we're harder on ourselves.
man please, as we man please,
Mhm.
right?
Hmm. Yep.
By Barbie dolling up. And I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. I'm just saying that I think these conversations about it,
Yes. Like being
or
honest.
yes, just
Actually
or
doing
us
this for
talking to
you.
each other.
Are you doing
Exactly.
this for the world? That's the question that I feel like we all have to ask. Am I actually doing this for me?
Yes.
Doing this for the world?
Yep.
Yeah, and it's tricky, isn't it
It
tricky?
is.
Because like you were saying earlier, Lindsay, I don't remember your exact words that you used it. Did you say programmed?
Yeah.
Programmed, right? And we don't even know we're programmed
Mm.
because it's been happening to us since we were little girls.
Yep.
I,
We're almost
I,
gaslit by ourselves
Yeah.
sometimes.
They gaslit to gaslight ourselves.
yeah,
Yep.
I have taken to daydreaming about running off and living in the woods by myself, and cutting off all contact with society. And
What?
it's an interesting mental exercise to think about, like, what would I wear? Because I love clothes, I love fashion, I think it's so
Mm.
fun, and I'm like, I'd be in sweatpants a lot of the time, but I have really cool t-shirts on. Like I'd still have my off the shoulder sweatshirts. Like there's like a happy medium between, squeezing into things that make me look the part and the
Hmm.
stuff that I actually find comfortable or utilitarian, because I'd be
Yeah.
gardening a lot because I'm living apart from society. So
I like that though. The like thought of, okay, if I didn't have to do it for other people,
it
would I
lets you
still do
know.
this?
Yeah, it
Yeah.
lets you know what's really for you.
I like
And
that.
Yeah.
Have a conversation with our internal witch in the woods. I think that's
yes.
Yes.
And it could be your
like
it
that.
could be your witch on the beach, or wherever your witch on a
Oh,
tropical island, whatever
yeah.
suits your soul. I'm a wood witch kind of girl. So
I love it. Oh
Oh,
my
I
God, I love
love that. I'm seeing another movie in there.
it's gonna be a documentary.
I love that.
Oh
I love
man,
it.
that's great.
It's not
Yes.
always easy to be a woman. Don't you think it's easier sorry, men,
Sorry, not sorry.
to be a man than it is to be a woman?
I
Oh,
think it's
unbelievably so.
different. There are certainly situations where there are advantages. I was going from shooting a commercial in the morning to going to an audition in the afternoon, and the lovely gentleman playing my husband in the commercial was going to the same audition. And I commented that it's so much easier for him. This is back in the day of in-person auditions. And I was like, it's so much easier for you. You just like shower and show up. Like I got to do my hair and my makeup and like all of this stuff. And then you get there and there are 20 women and like 2 dudes. And he's like, no, there's just as much competition amongst the men. And I was like, no,
No, there's
we
not.
we get to the audition. He got there a little before me, so he's already done. And as he's walking out of the room, the casting director goes, "Oh, excuse me, would you mind just staying and reading with a few more women? We just have a lot more women than we have men, and I need both for the scene."
Nice.
And he locked eyes with me. I was like,
Told you. That's great. I love that. I was like so worried you were going to be like, wait, is it going to flip? Were there going to be more dudes? Like, no, that's not. No, I'm so glad that's not where the story went.
no, but I love
but it's
being a
true.
woman. And
Same.
there are things that I see that I get an advantage for being a woman. I think that, I don't want to be like, oh, women are better at some things, but I wouldn't trade it, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like I really do
Same.
enjoy being a woman.
Yes.
Yeah.
Me
Same.
too.
Having a little
being
Shania Twain moment.
No, but it's true because sometimes it can be really frustrating and harder to be one, but I wouldn't change it. It's just I would like to try to continue to make a world where it's more acceptable to just be one.
Yes, I would just like to live in a world where we have 9 female Supreme Court justices and it's not a big deal.
Yeah, exactly.
Funny working with Manny as a counterpart for so many years. I work with my husband, Jill. He's been mainly the director and I was mainly the producer. And then now he kind of produces or he does a lot of cinematography work for me when I direct. But we've started seeing the differences between the 2 sets. Like sometimes like in the beginning, especially early in our career, we were mostly a male set and he was the director. And there are these moments where like something isn't working, something isn't quite there. And when you as a director give that 1 extra minute of silence and everybody's voices like jump in and they're all talking over each other and it becomes like whose dick is bigger competition.
Oh my God, yep.
And it was so loud and I don't even know how you create an environment like that. And for my second short film, we were almost all women. We had my husband and our cinematographer who are both honorary women at this point. And I had a moment I was like thinking, and there was like one dude on set who was like the actor's husband/handler, and he opened his mouth to try and like help, and the girls looked at him and like give her a minute,
Nice. I love that.
Yeah, and it was like we have a very collaborative we know that we don't have to meet that standard of like I have to immediately have this answer. Like I have to feel for a moment. I have to go back and find where I am in the story and find what is the genuine moment that I'm looking for. And women are willing to give you that and kind of have that patience versus the men who just, I'm sure it's in some way that they want to help each other, but I think it's also like my idea is the best, Yep. It has to become a competition always.
Yep.
I think also, I mean, I could be really wrong about this. I always am cautious when you say an opinion because it's just that. I'm certainly not saying mine is right. It's just an observation. It's just an opinion. It seems in my life that I've seen more often is that men get that courtesy of the moment where, and it's, we're still not nearly at a place as women, or maybe it's because I'm older, I experience this, where you have that freedom to think for totally 100% for yourself. People feel still like they need to come in and give their opinion. And that's fine if it's solicited.
Yes. One of my favorite quotes, I can't remember who said it, but it's men are assumed competent until proven otherwise.
Yes.
Women are assumed incompetent
Competent.
until proved otherwise.
I was thinking along those lines of how it is when a man is in a leadership position, it's assumed he's going to lead. When a woman is in a leadership position, it's assumed she needs help.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know, it's that way. My mom
Yeah.
is a remarkable woman. My mom is 86. She's going to be 87. And when I was a small child, she already owned her own company, and she went on to be very successful. Held the whole thing herself always. 100 million. It got to be $100 million company.
Wow.
$100 million a year company in business that she was doing. She was a designer, and she was all hers. And my dad was her partner, but it was her brainchild. Everything was her, right? She was the president. He was the vice president. And likely because they were married, it was that way. But it was really her company. But she always said when she would go out in business, and I'm talking in the 70s, they'd go meet with banks or meet with this person, meet with whatever, when any business thing, they would only talk to my father.
Oh, yep.
And my mother would be, and still to this day, it not nearly as much, but every now and then she'll find someone wanting to refer to my father instead of her. And I'm telling you, sometimes I think it's why I've been so soft in life, because she was so tough. And she always said I had to be tough because it was a man's world. I was the only woman in business. I was a businesswoman, even though she was a creative. She was a designer, but it was her company. She had her vision of how she wanted things. And she just, I just remember one of my favorite stories of her, not to go off about my mother, but about women. I remember being about 6 or 7 years old and a friend coming over and them asking my mom, Mrs. Schoelen, could I get a glass of milk? Whatever it was they asked for. And she looked down like this and she said, my name is Dorothy. I'm not a half of anything. I am my own person.
Yes.
Oh, I love that.
And
wow.
So this is all to validate what you guys are saying, that these challenges, they're so ingrained in our collective consciousness of the roles of men and women and how women are treated. So even as there's been so much evolvement, we've evolved so much as a society with women being in positions that need to be there, and much more so. It is still, it's not the pinnacle, it's the beginning. It's still, we're the very, very early journey of it. And as women, I think we have to be fair and say we too are learning how to navigate that. How to be everything we are as women, being mothers and giving birth and these kinds of things. There are inkling to nest and then go out and make a horror movie. These can be, I think, much trickier to navigate than maybe we always allow the conversations for. I think it's good to allow them.
I like that. No, I agree. I think maybe we've also tried to be so strong for so long that then it's, yeah, we can do it. We can do anything. And we tend to forget that maybe we should be honest about the way we still do struggle with it and how we need each other to uplift, and we can't do it all on our own necessarily. Like just like you said, the honesty about how we have come far, but we're still struggling and have a long way to go. Like being honest with each other and ourselves is really important.
Yeah, because it's hard, where it's so tricky. I think back at times, and women were not in certain roles at all, and the women that pioneered this, being in the forefront of any field, it's remarkable. The talent had to be oozing out of them, that they couldn't do what they would die if they didn't do what they did. They were that talented and had that strong of a need to do it, and they weren't tethered down to being women in the kitchen. And anyway, it's just it's a fascinating conversation, and it's going to continue to be fascinating.
Oh yeah. Yep. I just want to check in real quick. It's a quarter, about 20 after 4. I don't know if anybody has to rush off at all, just putting that out there. Don't want to keep anybody past. Everybody's being amazing and we're having such an awesome conversation, but just want to make sure everybody knows what time it is in case you have other obligations. No? Okay, cool. Let's keep talking.
Can I take us to a dark place?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, sure.
Okay. So, Jill, what you were saying like earlier was like resonating with me when you were talking about, us having a hole, and us having to let the world in and being that like open space. And it really like resonated with me because I feel like I've also had the opposite experience where like here's where the dark part comes from. I'm a survivor of sexual assault, and it was my first time that was taken from me. And
Oh my God.
like it was almost like a monster was put inside of me when that happened. And I feel like I struggle with um being as open as I should be, because I feel like the first time I was open,
Mm.
yeah, it was my choice. So I love that we're also being very positive about women, but I think it's also like the darker element of like we do have monsters inside of us. And a lot of times it's something that was forced into us. And I feel like that also is like where we're starting to get to having these discussions in horror. Like I'm seeing a lot of darker elements to horror and the relation of women being able to be monsters, and especially like even flawed female characters are becoming such a big thing, which I think is super important, because as great as it is to be open and to be, the all giving mother, I think that there are darker pieces of ourselves too that I think horror um should lend itself to. I don't know really where I'm going with this,
Yeah,
but
no, it's
the whole thing, like, just it really struck with me.
going back even to what Jill was saying earlier about the script she would get, that it was just her job as the female lead to ask the male lead questions.
Yeah.
Now, as we're progressing into real female characters, they're multidimensional, and that means they have flaws. It's not about showing women in this perfect light. That's not real. It's not interesting. It's not a good story. It's showing, even like in The Substance, she ended up in her predicament because of her own drive, her own flaws. And it could be argued that those were as a result of how society treated her, but still she is the person driving that action.
Yeah.
So it's a more complete picture that we are getting now, where we're seeing women represented as full people, and also even extending that into seeing a larger diversity ethnically in the characters that we see and the cultures that are represented, which is also so important and so much more interesting than just seeing the white male vision of the world, white male American version of the world.
Yes, agreed. And it's not, there's like that token representation thing, which just, it's not the same as, instead of just having this person that you cast be Black, like how about telling more Black stories? That's how you change the things, that getting more genuine women's stories out and told in a genuine way.
Having characters, not caricatures.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. Total. And when it's driven from that point of view, you know, somebody told me Salt, the character Salt that Angelina Jolie did, was originally Tom Cruise. Which, if that's true, I find that quite fascinating and love.
Yeah.
Like Ellen Ripley was originally a man.
Oh, yes.
If you just take a great character, why couldn't it go? You make adjustments, but basically the character is, why can't it be transferable?
Absolutely.
I was standing in on a movie and I ended up talking to the writer, and he was a male writer, but the story was about a mother. And I said to him, it's interesting that you as a man would write this about a woman. And he said, well, actually, it was originally about a father when I first started writing it. But I feel like all of men's stories have been told. This is so much more interesting. It's like, I love you.
But yeah.
Lindsay,
it's like we've heard this story before. We've heard your version of it 100 times. Give someone else's voice
and
the
right
chance.
Now I'm working on a script about human trafficking, and we were looking at possible comps because the script is mostly written and we're going into financing, so we're looking for comps, and all of the human trafficking stories that came before are centered on the white male savior.
Of course they are.
Ours is centered
on...
May
I interject as a sex worker to please talk to us too, because people often disregard us and think that we in our industry is just as much the problem. And no, we have so many thoughts and opinions and would love for people to hear our voices in terms of, we have ideas that could help. No one wants this.
Yes, this is a dystopian film as well. So it's taking it in a not entirely factual direction. But yes, that is a very good point. And there is representation of sex workers that I hope is a healthy and more progressive one than has been in the past.
Because I mean, we screamed about FOSTA SESTA and no one listened, and now internet censoring and ID uploading and ID verification is happening, and it's getting a little bit more Orson Welles, and we were like, we tried to tell you the porn is the canary in the coal mine. When they come for us for just pay attention generally is like we, especially for free speech, we are the canary in the coal mine. Well, folks, it turns out that getting 4 strong, confident, incredible women into a room means we started feeling like, hey, we have a lot to say and we're not going to censor it. So this is going to be a 2-parter because we had a lot to say. Stay tuned for next week.
Stabby Road Podcast was created by Joe Senna, hosted by Rob Graydon, Sonia Harcourt, and Joe Senna. Recording technicians Josh Graydon and Eric Todd. The Stabby Road Podcast is a production of Fourth Castle. All rights reserved. See you next week.